Hi everyone, welcome to Augmintech. I am Sagrika and today we are going to be discussing a very important topic which is how do interior designers work. Now, when we think of, going for a certain occupation, we are not really sure about how things work. So in this video, I'm going to take you through step by step process of how interior designers work. So, step number one, as you can see on your screen, is client consultation and concept development. Now, this is not something which is very hard. It is the very first step where you talk to the client, you understand their requirements, and you also take care of how the site is. Now, here there are many options of for you to start with. Let's say you have a site in an XYZ location. So, step one would be to meet your client on site. Now, this makes it very easy for you to do two things at once. Now, it can be a possibility that the client comes to you first, you talk in your office, and then you go to the site. Or otherwise, you can do the first meeting on site, which can be helpful in terms of you can see what exactly are the constraints on site, how you can use certain elements. For example, if you look at the image on the screen on the left, there you can see that there's a lot of raw structure. You can see beams and columns. You can see there's some kind of tile. So you know the current situation and then you can start building on that. Now, concept development is the time and stage of a project when we start to think about what can we do in this project, what can I bring on the table when in terms of design, in terms of handling the site, in terms of using the different elements inside, right? So if you look at the image on the right hand side, it's a sketch for the similar on the left side image that we are trying to cover the beam with the help of ACP, and we are going to add some elements like neon signs on it to create an interesting element. Now, these kinds of concepts, the sketches or the initial thoughts, this is what leads to concept development. So this is stage one. Then we go to stage two, which is called your space planning. Now, when you know the site, when you know like this is the area, first of all, of course, you will get the measurements done. Each and everything on site needs to be measured, needs to be noted down. Now, as interior designers, when we enter a building or when we are there to kind of work on a certain element or a certain site, there are many things that are already there on site. For example, the walls might be there, columns and beams might be there might be windows, and in some cases, if it's a renovation, there is a lot more that is already there on site. So for us, it is important to get the measurements done, to get all the recce of the site done, and then we start with the space planning. Now, space planning can only happen after you have consulted your client and you've understood their requirement. So here, with respect to functionality, with respect to what is the requirement, we will start to create layouts. Now, at this stage, it is also possible that you create 2 to 3 options for the client. Why am I saying that? Because the layouting part is something which makes or breaks the design, and it is something which is going to bring the complete function together. So it is important for us to, figure out 1 or 2 options at least so that we have a variety to choose from. Now, after the space planning is done, it is important for us to go to the third step, which is material and finish selection. You might be thinking that this is something which is, coming early on. But once you have developed your concept, once you have some things in mind, like, you want to treat certain space in a certain way, and now you have created the space plan, it is important to start to think about the materials and finishes. Right now, at this stage, when you start to think about materials and finishes, you can start to visualize the whole space and create the design accordingly. So, material selection is something which is very important, and it comes as the third step. Now, the fourth step, after we have finalized, like these are the kind of materials I want to go for, this is the kind of concept that I've created, this is the layout I'm choosing, then you will want to go for FFE specification. This is something that you will hear a lot in terms of interior design industry. This is furniture, fixtures, and equipment specification. Now, basically, if you have thought of a certain finish, if you have thought of certain layout, if you've thought of a certain furniture, what exactly is going to happen there? How many inches wide? How many feet tall? What is the width between two things? I'm just giving examples randomly, but let's take an example of the image that you see on the screen. So it's like a drawing or an elevation, simple elevation created for a very, not very complex structure. But here we are mentioning that we want mirrors on the wall. So here the mirror is slanted. So how is it going to be? So we have to give specification for everything. And as interior designers, it is important for us to go in as much detail as you can. For example, if you are referring to mirrors, how are the edges of the mirror going to be treated? Do you want lights at the back? How are they going to be stuck on the wall? So all of these drawings which get created are done during this. And also, when you're talking about furniture fixtures, we are also talking about things that you're going to buy from the outside. So maybe you are choosing some, fixtures in terms of washrooms, in terms of lighting fixtures, which get chosen from in the market, and you make a list of them for your client to understand. So this is the number of, fixtures you need, and this is where it will go. Right? So this is the number 4 step, which is again very, very important. Now, I do not need to say this for every step because all of these are equally important. So as to get a perfect project, we need to do everything. Now comes number 5. Now, this is the kind of step which usually the clients tell you in the very beginning, that what's the budget? How much is it going to cost me? But in a nutshell, this is something which is very you can say this comes with experience. Maybe if you have done 15, 16 projects, maybe you can give them a ballpark idea of about how much it is going to cost. But again, every interior project is different, and every interior budget is going to come from the number of items you choose, the kind of material you are selecting, the kind of fixtures you are choosing. That's why we do the material and fixture selection prior to this. So after you have selected everything, now you can start to create a BOQ. Now, BOQ basically means bill of quantities. Now, bill of quantities in terms of interiors refers to, like, let's say you want to do a false ceiling. So you will write false ceiling, you will write the per square foot rate for the false ceiling, and then you will write the total amount like you can see on your screen. Similarly, if you have some, let's say if you have 10 doors which are going to come in your project, you're going to write the sizes of the doors. You're going to write door number 1, number of doors, like what's the area, how much is it going to cost, and with that little details that we are going to follow, starting from tiles, ceilings, lights, wall paints, furniture, furnishing. Everything will come in budgeting, and then only we can get a total amount about this is how much it is going to cost. Now, scheduling is also a part of budgeting, where we kind of create phases for the project. Like, let's say the number 1 phase, we are going to be doing the false ceiling first and the electrical work. So the first phase takes care of the electrical, plumbing, and the false ceiling. In the phase 2, we are moving towards the flooring and the walls. And then comes the phase 3, where we are talking about the furniture, and finally the finishes and furnishing. So here you can schedule the elements accordingly. Now, that's another topic for another day. But this is number 5. This is what we do after we have selected everything. Then comes number 6, which is project management and implementation. Now, if you have already scheduled what is going to happen on the site, you have already created all the drawings, this is how it is going to look like, you have created a concept, you have created the drawings. Now we can start to work on site. So now the budget is approved. How much whatever is going to cost. So you can start with phase 1. Then the people who are supposed to be working on site, be it your carpenters, be it your painters, be it your any other kind of workers. They are going to come on site, material is going to get procured, and now as a designer it is your responsibility to understand like where's the material coming from, is the right kind of material coming on the site. Then you will have to kind of coordinate with all the vendors, all the people who are on site. Now, there's another case that it might be not applicable for you. If you have a contractor, then you might just need to talk to the contractor. If on site there is no contractor and you are the person, managing the project, you have to take care of everything. So this number 6, I would say in my experience, this is the very, very important step. And this is something that everybody should do despite of having contractors, despite of having clients who are working tirelessly for their own project. But you have to make sure that whatever you have chosen, whatever you have selected comes on site and gets implemented well. And then comes the final stage, which is final styling and handover. Now, at this stage, when we have completed the whole project, the phases of design are done, all the implementation has started happening. Now, at the end of it, you will style the space, as in, let's say, if it's a residential space, you might want to put in the furnishing, you might want to put in some rugs and, a lot of that. And in some cases, we get some certain, like you might find something missing, or in the end you choose like I just want to add something on the wall, things like that. Those styling elements get done in the end, and finally the handover happens to the client. So just a quick recap, starting with client concept, and you talk to the client, you get a concept ready, then you move back and then you start with the ideation, you create a concept for them, then you start with the drawings, then you start with the material selection, and finally when all of that is done, we create a final standing and handover, during which you can also get a photo shoot done. So, it's not hard and fast that these are the steps and this is how you should follow it. But trust me, if you do it this way, you are not going to get it wrong, right? So I hope you learned something from this video and you enjoyed watching the video. So stay tuned, subscribe to our channel, and stay tuned for such more videos.